Joining me now from Munich is California Congressman Khanna, a Democratic member of the House Armed Services, Agriculture, and Oversight and Reform Committees. Always good to have your voice in the conversation here. And I know, sir, that you heard the unexpected declaration from President Biden that Putin has decided to invade Ukraine. He said that as the result of a question that was asked of him on the White House grounds. Today, Vice President Harris warning Russia of unprecedented sanctions if it invades. So you were there among the U.S. delegation at the Munich conference. Is there equal alarm or certainty over the situation there?
There is definitely concern, Alex. One thing I'm proud of is that the Democrats and Republicans in Munich, about 40 members of Congress and senators, are unified in a very clear message. Putin's further invasion is completely unjustified. We stand with Ukraine. There will be swift and certain costs. And Secretary Blinken, who we met with, is doing a brilliant job in offering as many possible diplomatic off-ramps to the Russians. This is not in Russia's interest to do this. This will be a costly war for them. And we heard today in the hall President Zelensky, who made it clear that there are many people in Ukraine who will fight for their country. So I hope that Putin is watching and gets the message.
So, as you know, there's no Russian delegation, though, at that Munich conference, and that's for the first time in years. So can something truly effective be accomplished with no Russians in at least the Munich conversation?
A breakthrough, but the Munich conversation, I don't think will have any breakthrough. But I do think it will have a clear message that the transatlantic alliance is unified, is strong in condemning the Russian action. And Secretary Blinken, I think, has an opportunity for a breakthrough in a meeting with the Russian foreign minister.
So Russia held the exercises today with its strategic nuclear forces. It was led by Putin himself. Sunday is the formal end of Russia's exercises with Belarus. So as we hear that an invasion could happen any time now, do you have a sense of how ending the military exercises could factor into what happens next, timing-wise?
Well, first, Alex, it's important to point out Belarus. The person in charge of Belarus is probably the only dictator other than Putin in Europe. So you have basically the free world, democracies standing up to these authoritarian dictators. That's what's at stake. The fact that they're doing these exercises is very concerning. And then they've got 150,000 troops amassed at the border. They're conducting these exercises, and that's why there is a lot of legitimate concern that Putin is getting ready to invade. But what the Munich Security Conference is making clear is that he's going to face a unified United States and Europe in opposition. He's going to have economic costs and sanctions of the kind that he's never seen before, not just against his government, but against the Russian oligarchs. We met with Chancellor Scholz of Germany, and Chancellor Scholz was clear that he will side clearly with the United States in supporting economic sanctions. So Russia is going to have a huge cost if they do this. I believe it could turn out to be like Afghanistan for them. And I hope he will reconsider. And Secretary Blinken, again, has doing an extraordinary job to try every breakthrough as possible.
So when you say Afghanistan, it begs this question about the responsibility of the U.S. and NATO, what it has to Ukraine if they are hit with an invasion. Is there any scenario that includes U.S. troops on the ground?
President Biden has made it very clear that we are not going to war with Russia. We are not going to get into another endless war. But what we are going to do is make it very, very painful for Russia to do this. He is going to face economic sanctions. He is going to face sanctions with the SWIFT payment program that threatens Russian financial assets around the world. The Nord Stream 2 will be canceled. That means that his exports on gas will be threatened. And he's going to face a resistance in Ukraine of a kind that I don't think he's anticipating. We met with a mayor of Kiev. He's 6'7". He was a former boxer. And I'll tell you, he's going to fight with a lot of other Ukrainians for his country. And so I just think that this is going to cost Russia in a way, like I mentioned, that Afghanistan cost them. Afghanistan, in part, started to end the Cold War because of what it did to the Soviet Union. And hopefully that message will get through to Putin.
Let's talk about stuff stateside here, with the National Archives confirming in a letter to the House Oversight Committee that it found classified material among those 15 boxes of documents that Donald Trump took with him to Mar-a-Lago. The matter has been sent to the DOJ. So how's your committee handling this information?
Well, it's very concerning. I mean, I'm on the Armed Services Committee. We've had intelligence briefings here at Munich and when we were in Israel. I would never dream of taking a document outside of any of those rooms. We aren't even allowed to have our phones in those briefings. And so it is mind-boggling that Trump took classified documents with the most sensitive national security information to a place that was not secure. And this from a person who spent the entire campaign criticizing Secretary Clinton for a few emails. I mean, it needs to be investigated, not just by our committee, which it will, but by the Justice Department. These are very serious matters.
We're having a little bit of a connection issue, but I'm going to try to squeeze in one more question about the economy here. With the national average for a gallon of regular gas is, what, $3 and about 52 cents. As prices are remaining high, there's some Democratic lawmakers who want that federal gas tax holiday through the end of this year, through 2022. Do you agree with that? And I'm curious how big an effect that could have. I mean, because critics are saying this is purely a political move.
Well, I'm for all options on the table to provide relief, and I will support what the president decides. But I think that the one thing that we ought to look at is that oil companies' profits have been through the roof, and they ought to have some responsibility to lower the costs for consumers. How are they making billions of dollars while fleecing consumers at the pump? And so if there are regulatory ways as well and antitrust ways to make sure that the oil companies aren't fleecing the American public, that to me is a first step.
Okay. California Congressman Khanna, thank you for joining us from overseas. Safe travels, my friend. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Meantime, the